We can get it together now. We're good.
You figured it out? Okay.
No, I
take over
now.
Because I know I have it. Welcome. Welcome. I am in love with the title that I found to title our talk today of Why Can't I Get It Together. I absolutely love that it's on every sticker and everything that I can't get it together. It's just a regular reminder that's some of our reality. You might be sitting in here because you have someone in your world that doesn't seem to be able to get it together, or you yourself feel like you can't get it together. Whatever brings you here, welcome. Who am I? I'm Stacy Masshardt. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist here in Mechanicsburg. If there weren't trees or a highway, you might be able to see where I practice, because I practice from my house. This picture in the background is my office. It's a converted garage where those windows was a garage door. I have a waiting room and then an inner office. That's the kind of therapist I am. It's not just for convenience, so I can wear slippers to work. I got new slippers for Christmas, and when I open them, I say, "Ooh, new work shoes." It's part of who I am, that I am the kind of therapist that self-discloses. And so this whole presentation is one big self-disclosure. This is me using how I'm wired to maybe possibly help you feel less alone, or maybe possibly to help you understand your family members better. That's just the kind of therapist that I am. I find it to be very personable and disarming to not have a therapist that has that professional distance. I mean, that's great for some people, but you're gonna walk in my yard and trip over my kids' toys. You're gonna find some things out about me. I wanted to express a little bit about my approach to therapy, just because you're going to feel that throughout the presentation. So I see primarily couples and individuals. I do occasionally see families as well. My license, again, is licensed marriage and family therapist. There's 2 different licenses, well, 3 licenses that do counseling in Pennsylvania. My license is particularly, I did more study and research on systems, so that's one of my approaches. A mind that can't get it together, it's going to be eclectic. So I'm not going to have a modality that I stick to all day, every day, because I don't think linearly about anything, including this presentation, just to be clear. It's not going to be, I'm going to try my best. So a systemic approach, meaning all interconnected. And so when I'm working even with an individual, I have questions about their family members, or what did somebody else experience based on what your changes are. It's all very systemic. Everything is connected in my mind. And very attachment-based. So one of my core tenets is that we have 4 basic needs as human beings: food, water, air, and attachment. We cannot survive without being seen and known and connected. And so when we have a deficiency in one of those, we are not doing well, we are not thriving. So attachment is like a core piece for me. And there's pieces to that that I could go into, but I'm not. Narrative is a little bit trickier to explain, but essentially the thought is that we're all writing a story about how things work and what our role is in the world, and we can change that story. Other people try to gift us their story about who we are, and sometimes we take that on. There's some generational stories that we carry out, and so that's another approach that I take. The last one is a relatively new one. It's called ACT, which is Acceptance Commitment Therapy, and that's most of what we're going to talk about today, but you're not going to know it. So I don't go into a lot of terms with it, but that is the underpinning, the foundation for what we're talking about, with a whole lot of talk about acceptance. But acceptance commitment therapy in a nutshell is accepting your reality, whether that's emotions, thoughts, feelings, behaviors, accepting that this is where we are, and then committing to action. And so it includes both of those pieces. We don't just accept and sit where we are. That's not acceptance, that's being resolute or giving up. Acceptance is, this is where I am on my journey, and then a commitment to where you want to go. And so ACT is going to be a large piece of this. And I want to make a bullet point, just in case you didn't notice, I am a real person. I'm a real person that at times can answer this question with absolutely, I cannot get it together. And so I'm going to be sharing a bit about that. Why can I get it together? Here's the arc that I aim for. We're going to answer a bunch of questions. Why am I not like everyone else? Everyone being in air quotes. Why does my brain actively, or at least seem to actively, work against me? What's the deal? What would help? And then we will have some time for questions at the end. But if you're sitting in this space because your brain doesn't work literally, you might have questions throughout, and you might have random thoughts throughout. I do encourage you to take some notes, as you're going throughout. If you do have a question, you're also welcome to, if you want to interrupt me. I can't promise I will find my way back. You are welcome to also raise your hand throughout too. In your packet are my slides, which you're welcome to take notes on. But then at the back, this is your project for today. It is a picture of a brain. If you were at all aware of the 90s, this is not your brain on drugs. I can't help it, just so you know. There's just little clips of everything in my head all the time. I'd like you to work on, as you hear things, these are things that you might relate to, or again, if you're sitting here because you're trying to understand your teenager or your young adult person who lives in your house, or whoever you're trying to understand who can't seem to get it together. I want you to take some notes on what the strengths and weaknesses are, essentially. And so when we're finished, it would be great if we had some things filled in there of these are the things that I related to, again, with the thought that you might not remember at the very end to remember everything that was said of what those random thoughts that you had in your brain works like mine. So, some fine print. Some of this is going to be helpful, I hope. Again, if you're here because you have a loved one, I might sound like I'm from another planet as I describe things, but there are going to be some of you that deeply relate, that you picked this because that is a feeling that you have that I just can't seem to get it together. We just want to acknowledge that we're coming from different places. Diagnosis I am not a fan of diagnosis. And so there are lots of words that we could possibly use to describe what I'm going to explain, if that makes any sense, like ADHD, like OCD, like autism, like any kind of anxiety disorders. There's all kinds of description words that you could use to describe the experience of not being able to get it together, of a brain that works differently. We are not going to talk about any of those in any kind of detail for a couple different reasons. One is, again, I hate diagnosis. I feel as though just because your brain works that way doesn't make it a disorder. It just means that's how your brain works. Also, there's no way I could possibly tell you what you have. That I don't take insurance in my practice for a reason, lots of reasons actually, but one of them is insurance companies require diagnosis within the first session. And so 20 minutes I have to know a person in order to give them a disorder in order for the insurance companies to pay for it. And I just read a story yesterday that somebody was denied life insurance because of a diagnosis that was on file for them at a therapist that they saw 5 years prior. So I hate diagnosis. I hate it. again, like a kiddo that's coming to, a teenager who's struggling with depression, do they have a major depressive disorder? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe they're just having a hard time. A couple that I'm seeing, that really is just does somebody have anxiety in the midst of that? Probably, because this is terrible. I just hate it. So we're not, that's not what we're after, is trying to label our brains as some kind of name in a big book. I'm hopeful to give you other words that you can use confidently that I have found to be helpful, but they're not going to be from the DSM, the Diagnostic Manual. I am not a neuroscientist, nor do I play one on TV. So there may be questions that you have about some of the brain stuff that comes up. No, I'm not going to know. And I'm okay admitting that I don't know. I'm not a neuroscientist. I'm very good at what I do. I don't need to do other people's jobs. I will point you to the interwebs to discover those things, or people way smarter than me. But I'm not going to be able to really dive into it. I'm hopeful to share what's actually helpful. Everything that I'm talking about, I'm speaking from both clinical as well as deeply personal experience, and peppered with some research that I've done. But I have found in my own journey this concept of acceptance has been enormously helpful. So this is my goal, is acceptance. And we'll get into further down the line of what acceptance actually is, but kind of have a general sense of what that word is. It's not a history word. Again, I'll probably repeat this, but we're not here to diagnose. My main goal is to offer a perspective that allows for acceptance for how your particular, unique, beautiful brain functions, and learn to work with it instead of against it. That's my goal. Why am I not like everyone else? Again, air quotes around everyone. It seems as though, right, in our culture, that there are these people that have it together. They are waking up in the morning at the same exact time every single day. They get up and they have a routine. A routine that they do X, and then they do Y, and then they do Z, and then they get to work at the same time every single day. It's a marvel to me that these people exist, but sometimes it feels like it's everyone else. And I had an epiphany this week, because I may or may not have done this presentation completely just this last week, even though I've known about it for a very long time. And I had this epiphany that it's the linear thinkers that are writing the blogs. It's the linear thinkers that are writing the books about how to form habits and make your life better. It's them that got it together, that are making us feel like, making me feel like all my own stuff. They have all these suggestions. Make a plan and stick to it. Just do it. Habit stacking. Pay attention to the habits you're already doing every day and put another habit on top of it. Don't write this down. You get it. I don't find this to be helpful. These are the oppressive things for how my brain works. Get organized. If I could just buy another bin, then maybe I could figure this out. If I could just, I know what I need. Oh, I just called somebody out. If I could just, what we need is more bins. I'm certain that would just fix everything. If we could just, and they're labeled and they're clear, you can see what's inside of them. I mean, one for Christmas and one for Easter. It doesn't work. If I could just get a planner, for me that was always really enticed, like a really good, nice, pretty planner. That I could just it's January, start a new planner, start a new year, we're going to be organized.
I could never find the perfect planner.
If I could just identify my priorities, if I could just figure out what's most important and I can focus on that, and then everything else will fall in line. Create a reward system. If I give myself, a piece of chocolate, being diabetic is probably not a good idea. If I could just get myself to go, or accountability, which, there we go. No. It might be somebody else that's in here. We're the people that can't get it together. Nobody's, thank you. Accountability, my husband has learned that even if I ask for this, not to do that because I get angry when people hold me accountable. So that's not something that typically works. For those of us that have nonlinear thinking, unfiltered brains, I will get to what that means. It tends to be the hurrier I go, the behinder I get. The more I try to do, try to prioritize, try to make happen, the behinder I get. I tend to drop things, I tend to forget things, like Linda forget her phone.
How appropriate.
Yes, I know, and
What are you gonna be
I
called?
love it. Yeah, exactly, one of those things.
Object lesson. That's what I was
Object
looking
lesson.
for.
Yeah, absolutely. So why does it seem like my brain works against me? I love memes. That is not a hidden thing. Some of the memes that are here today, I created myself. This is not one of them, though I could have. Let's clean the house today. My brain says no. Okay, a day of relaxing it is. Also no. No relaxing. Just guilt feelings, only guilt. It seems as though, these are the things that for a nonlinear thinker, we tend to have unfinished projects. And when we feel called out, it's also me. We tend to have heightened anxiety to get it all done. Because once I was saying in the first session, like once you pull on that thread, well, if I'm going to prioritize going to the gym, then I need to prioritize doing my devotionals. And so if I'm doing my devotionals, then I need to make sure that I have a good devotional. And if I have a good devotional, well, I can't spend money. Because if I'm spending money, then I'm not meeting my financial commitments. It's great. Real quick. Irritability tends to be an issue. Paralysis or disassociation, again, when that whole list comes in, we can just shut down because it just all feels like too much. Don't know where to begin, so I won't begin anywhere. Distraction, non-linear tasks. For lots of these, I've like pictured these videos. I didn't want to have a ton of videos because I didn't want to log down the Wi-Fi, but there's definitely reels out there of non-linear cleaning, which I always feel so called out when I go from one room to the next, and I'm doing literally what I'm doing now, and I'm picking up this and I'm picking up that, and okay, this needs to go in that room, and then put that down, and then I pick up another thing because this needs to go. Like it's non-linear, to say the least. Hyperfixation happens at times. Losing items. I could lose items that are right in front of me. Wrapping Christmas presents is the worst. I literally haven't moved. Where is this? Like, I literally haven't moved. How is this possible? so irritating. Oh goodness. So, what's the deal? Why am I not like them? Why is my brain this way? What's the reason? I mean, there's always the never-ending questions. I didn't make it explicit yet. All the sections are questions because this brain tends to ask a lot of questions. A lot of why, a lot of what's wrong with me, why can't I get it together? It's a lot of questions. It's part of the unfiltering. And this is the answer. It's so unsatisfying. Deeply, deeply unsatisfying. Different brains work differently.
And I don't want to be different.
And I don't want to be different, but everybody's different. Every single person works just differently. It does sometimes feel, again, like the nonlinear brain is less than, but it's truly, truly just different. As promised, we're going to come up with some different words. I'm already using the word nonlinear to describe this brain. And essentially, it's if this is not your brain, so I can kind of, I think the cleaning thing kind of shows on the outside what's going on the inside. When I was doing this PowerPoint, I'm not going through and just doing first, second, third, fourth, fifth. I'm doing this PowerPoint, and then I go, oh yeah, and then, oh, okay, the alarm went off for the cookies or whatever. Like it's literally not linear. There are some brains, and you might be in here that has a linear brain, that you can start a task, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and finish the task to Z. You exist. I believe you exist. I don't think it's like the Yeti. I do believe you exist. I've met them. if you're not one of them. I prefer, again, outside of diagnosis, I prefer other terms. One I didn't include just because there's not a whole lot of research on it. The concept of there are type A people and then type B people. Apparently, like, the scientific history of that is really murky, like it's just really anecdotal. But I do solidly say, like, I am solidly type B, where I'm not that organizational right brain. That is not me. Left brain is another kind of term that gets used. We're looking for other ways to describe what your experience is without having to use diagnosis. So we're going to talk about filtered, unfiltered, importance versus interest, and then dopamine levels is what we're after here. So the unfiltered brain. There are those of us that, well, let me start with the other. Again, I only know this because I believe people when they tell me their experience, not because I have this experience. But there are those that have a filter in their brain that they can delineate between, I want to be affected by this to-do list item, or this noise, or this bright lights, or other distractions. They can hone in one subject at a time, one topic at a time, and try to ignore everything else. That they can actually move, again, literally through a task. There are some brains that work this way. I only know this in theory. I see it primarily in couples counseling because I can most couples, the opposites attract thing. That I like to say there's always a gas and a brake in a couple. That there's one person that is creative and let's do this and spontaneous, and then there's, whoa, we need to think about this, have you considered? There's usually a gas and a brake. There's usually, I can identify sometimes, not always, both my husband and I are both pretty unfiltered. He can be a little bit more filtered than me, but we're both, neither one of us are good with linear tasks. Which makes for, as you might imagine, a pretty unorganized house. Nobody's doing it. And we're creating children of, unorganized. And I'm realizing I didn't introduce my family when it's again, non-linear thinking. Oh, you didn't talk about your family. Oh, okay. I'm married 19 years, and I have 3 kiddos, an 8-year-old and twin 4-year-olds. And that is as delightful, and this is not sarcastic, it sounds sarcastic, but it is as delightful as it sounds. I love my kids. Welcome to my other favorite. So for an unfiltered brain, this one I know, personal experience, taking in all the noise, all the emotions, all the anxiety, all the sounds, I could tell you where the random things are in my house right now, and not just things in the present, but also things in the past, things that have happened last week. Or one of my favorite memes is me going about to sleep, and my brain says, it's like you don't even care about what happened in 10th grade anymore. How dare you go to sleep? Let's think about 10th grade again. Sometimes the unfiltered goes even historical. I can tell you what happened in 10th grade. If I told the first group, I'm not going to tell you. You can find one of them and ask them. Because it's embarrassing. Anyway, so this unfiltered brain, it sounds like all bad things, right? It sounds like, well, that stinks, to always have all of that all the time, constantly. It's challenging, to say the least, but there are amazing things that this brain can do. There are superpowers. Creativity. So pulling in all those different things, you tend to get lots of different influences from lots of things. I find it to be incredibly relaxing to take all that chaos and put it into creativity. Empathy. I can feel a client's emotions from the waiting room. I'm aware of what's going on all the time. It is difficult, being a mom of 3 in particular, because I'm taking in stimuli constantly. but that makes me incredibly empathetic because I can see the micro expressions. There are times that I wish I could turn that off, and it's not always like I'm right because I also have issues and so insecurities, and so I might read a micro expression as rejection, and it might not be, which is also a part of this brain, by the way, is this feeling that you're always being rejected. That's part of the unfiltered piece of this. Just P.S. Good times. It's fun in a group to make eye contact and feel rejected. Adaptability is a super skill of an unfiltered brain. Resiliency, when you've been through a lot and you've experienced a lot and you have emotional memory, you tend to be able to endure a lot. I've been through a lot of stuff, and so I can face what's coming. Really good at planning. I can plan a really good vacation. I can pack an amazing bag. I cannot unpack that bag. I have visited, my best friend lives far away, and I do try to get there at least once a quarter to stay overnight. And I said, oh look, my bag from last time I visited, it's still kind of together. But really good at planning. I plan an amazing party, and then I need my husband just to throw it all away, or I will keep it. Problem solving, again, being able to assess the range of what's happening and try to find a solution. Spontaneity, good times. Bursts of energy at times. Hyper focus at times, really to get a project done. Pursuing passions and interests. That exciting stuff that draws you to something new, shiny. That is a super skill that those of us with an unfiltered brain have. And so I don't want to, I want to make sure that we're acknowledging that when we're accepting this brain, it's not accepting only the struggle, that we're also accepting where we thrive and how we thrive, what we bring to the table, because it's good stuff. So the first section was filtered, unfiltered. The second one is taking dopamine into consideration. I'm going to read this. I don't know what some of the words mean, but I think the main point I think is helpful. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter. I only know what that kind of is. Made in your brain, and I'm sure there's somebody smarter in here even that can explain that to me someday. It plays a role as a reward center and in many body functions, including memory, movement, motivation, mood, attention, and there was a long list. I think when we throw around a buzzword like dopamine, it's one of those buzzwords right now of like dopamine addiction or I need a dopamine fix. I don't think I realized to this extent how much, I thought it was just a feel-good. It's not just a feel-good. It actually, this is what's necessary in order to have motivation and to continue to see through a task. We need that dopamine. And there are people that either it's low levels of dopamine or there's something going on with the receptors. And so I wanted a physical as I could get, picture of receptors because I want to drive home that this is a physical issue. If this was you picking it and that you just, picked the wrong card at the beginning of life or whatever, maybe, you wouldn't have picked this, right? You wouldn't have picked this struggle because our society really values success and achievement, and we don't typically have the person who made the best art project speak at graduation, right? It's we don't celebrate as much, right? We celebrate that you got it together. And so I want to remind us that this is something that, we're going to get to it, but there's some level of acceptance there, right? This is a physical thing that needs our care, needs our attention. If you had arthritis and you said, I just needed to get it together to decrease this pain. If I could just, get it together enough, then and obviously any ailment, you can exercise or whatever, analogy breaks down. And there are things here too that you can accommodate to, for sure, so maybe it doesn't break down. There are things that you can do, but baseline is you need to accept that you have arthritis. So you can figure out what will help arthritis. It does work. Here too, in order to find what works, you need to accept where we're starting from, where you are at the journey of how your brain works. And so there's a dopamine piece here that must be acknowledged, that is deeply physical, chemical. Third is this idea that some nervous systems are wired for importance and some nervous systems are wired for interest. Again, our culture prioritizes that importance over interest. But there are just some nervous systems that do not respond, myself included, that do not respond to importance. I understand, I'm a relatively intelligent person, I understand that if I take my medication every single day, that my diabetes will be better under control. I understand that. My brain doesn't care. My brain doesn't care that that's necessary. It needs some other element in order to keep me engaged. I need me a fun little app that pops up a little animal when I do it, and they exist. There's all kinds of apps in particular to kind of help that exciting piece. Sometimes a good medicine, a brand new medicine cookie thing will help me. But anyway, I digress. Many times. There are people, and again, in theory, that they just need to know that it's important, and they do that thing. That's amazing. I'm so glad you exist. You are probably in medical fields, and you are probably, doing all kinds of amazing things, getting all kinds of things done. You just might be here because you love somebody that's more interest-based, has a nervous system that is motivated by interest. Again, it's due to the deficiency in dopamine that needs that surge in order to get the job done. It's deeply physical. This is a nervous system issue. So again, on the important side, they can do it just because it's significant to themselves or to somebody else, that there's a clear reward or penalty tied to it. Yes, I could care less. Or apparently, it seems as though I could care less. There's a part of my brain that wants to live for my kids, and so I want to get to the gym, and I want to live for them, but apparently that's not what it takes for my brain to get me to the gym, apparently. And it's available on demand. Conversely, there are those of us that it has to be personally interesting. We have to engage that curiosity and creativity, that it has to be tied to challenge or urgency or a bit of play. We're going to get into some examples of these in the what's going to help section, but I just wanted you to see the difference between somebody that is wired to be motivated by interest and then wired to be motivated by pure importance. And they're different people. They're different brains. And so you can't just say to someone, well, this is important. That won't do it. I wish that it did. I truly wish that it did. It's just not enough, apparently. The brain just doesn't click with it. So let's talk about what would help. Because we want to work with our brain, not against our brain. We want to figure out, okay, so I have to get these things done. If I could just, see clients, never have to write a note, that would be great. If I could just see clients, hang out with my kids, and paint with them, and paint when I want to, and draw pictures or whatever, crochet, all my creative things that I do, until I get sick of it and then have to start a new thing. Anyway. So many unfinished things. I'm over it. And so one thought that, obviously our brain might say, and this is one I made, how do I get dopamine? Well, I could overshare, like a group of strangers now knows that I'm diabetic, I might have this issue. I could complete a task, that feels really good. Even if after I complete it and I write it down and then I get to cross it off, whew, feels so good. I did a thing. doom scroll. So again, that disassociation, that shutdown of just getting deeper and deeper into randomness. That gets us some dopamine. Starting a new hobby, like I alluded to with embroidery was last year, and I need a new one to get those creative juices going. Otherwise, I'll default to disassociation. What would help? These are the things that actually would help. Because those things give us a burst, right? But it doesn't usually, none of those are productive. Maybe to complete a task. Maybe. Depends on what the task is. Might get some things done. But those things don't get anything done. The other three in particular. And so we need some things that will help us actually get some things together. So acceptance, emotional regulation, we're looking to instigate some dopamine. Yeah, go for it.
I'm like one slide behind, sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Could you speak to somebody who might function like one kind of brain in one situation, but then the other style in a different situation? Like at work, they might seem like they're on the left side, but then they come home and their house is a disaster, and what's going on there?
Yes. Yes. When I did admin for 12 years, and I was very organized and had everything had in place, except I did have what would reveal, I did have this, I don't know what to do with box. That was the only indication that you might see if you looked across my desk, was this box of, I don't, it doesn't have a place, and I don't know what to do with it, and my brain can't handle it, and so there's this bin. And so that would be the only indication if you were to walk into my office that there was anything amiss. Because I'm replying to emails, I'm doing all the things. I have one task here. At home, I have lots of tasks. If we got kiddos in the mix, if we have pets in the mix, if you own a multi-roomed home, you have multiple things. Oh, I need to pay a bill, I need to go to the gym, I need to eat better, I need to get our finances in control. It's your entire life is there. At work, it's job description. And you know when you finished your job. I finished my job today, maybe. I did learn, it's a little bit of I learned that why I like my job so much. Because I don't ever have to finish a project, because they're never done. Even when they leave me as a therapist. So I realized that I love unfinished projects, and so yeah. Anyway, they're never done. But absolutely, there would be places where you can, because there's external pressure. You want to be I did really good in school. I did. I got all the projects done, and this is where I really struggled with, like, has this always been true of me, or is this postpartum? For those of you who've had kiddos, like, is this the shift? There are conversations around that of what postpartum does to the filtered brain, which is also interesting. But absolutely, there will be pockets of places where you can focus down in. Again, there's going to be some indications. Again, whether it's a bin or it's if you're dealing with multiple different projects and you're tending to like lean towards the ones that are either easier, able to like actually cross off, or are more interesting to you. Depends on what your job is, but absolutely it will show up in different places. At home, it's significantly more complicated with so many different. You picture that unfiltered brain, so much more stimulus. When at work, you're not really in charge of all of it. Does that make sense? Thank you. All right, the first one, acceptance. How am I doing on time? Doing okay. I'm pausing because this is the most important, and I want you to pay attention to your nervous system as I change my tone a little bit. Almost every client that comes into my space fights me on this. Because there's this thought that if I accept it, then it's never going to change. If I accept it, then this is the way it's always going to be. If I accept it, then I'm saying that this is okay. And it's not okay. I'm not okay with this. I wish that my brain worked differently. I wish that I could get it together. Such a good title. But true acceptance is about acknowledging reality as it is. It is what it is, without judgment, because I didn't pick it, and so I don't need to say bad or resistance, trying to make my brain be something that it's not, while still empowering yourself to take meaningful action when necessary. We are going to commit to trying to figure out what works for us. Again, if I could just talk to clients and not have to do my notes or file paperwork or do CEUs for my license and do all the administrative stuff, if I could just go with the flow, that would be great. I'm sad about it. And that's why I wanted, as part of acceptance, is observing your emotions. I wish that it was less chaotic in my brain. I wish that it was quieter. I wish that, the people that can meditate on scripture or, read a single paragraph without losing train of thought, or pray without losing train of thought, speak without losing train of thought. I do have sadness around that. As I'm working on acceptance, I do need to acknowledge how I feel about it. In my world, I don't have anybody directly shaming me about it. It's all Instagram or, just the presence of a friend coming over. But it's the feelings that are there are very real, and I need to, as part of acceptance, observe them. But I also need to acknowledge that this is my reality. This is how my brain is wired. I have an unfiltered brain. I am type B, whatever word fits for you. That's the reality. And also take action where necessary. We're going to talk about some things that work with your brain again, work with your brain as opposed to against it. And then I put on here practice mindfulness. Mindfulness in and of itself has a tenet of non-judgment. And so again, it's just observing, this is how I work, this is what's going on inside my body, and offering yourself non-judgment. It just is what it is. We need to know where we are in our journey if we're going to figure out how to get where we want to go. And so that's all acceptance is this is where I am, this is what I have packed. Just stick with the journey analogy if you didn't catch it. This is what I have packed. This is who I am. I need to know where I am in order to get where I want to go. So acceptance, I can't stress this enough. It's easy way or hard way. Either the easy way is acceptance. Just accept that this is the way that it is, or that your loved one is the way that they are. Or you could do it the hard way and try to force yourself into making your brain try to do something that it's not wired to do. Adding shame upon shame of what's wrong with you, why can't you get it together, why, try again, get a bin, try to, not to say bin, no disrespect to bins, so many bins. The hard way is trying to force yourself into something that is just not who you are. You're not wired that way. You can't make yourself care about something that you don't care about. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you make somebody else care about something they don't care about. And so this really is easy way, hard way. I encourage you to do this the easy way and allow yourself to work toward acceptance. It is a beautiful place of freedom and of so many jokes. Second, so first acceptance, second emotional regulation. Now I could have done an entire session on emotional regulation. In fact, I think in this room, in the second, in the afternoon, is somebody talking about nervous system. Like there's all kinds of pockets of conversations around this place today about emotional regulation. What does emotional regulation do for an unfiltered brain? What I just did. Big deep breath. So I can remind myself, what am I talking about? What's helpful? If I can get some emotional regulation, I just might be more likely to get the task done. to quote, get some things together. I don't know that anybody ever has all of it together, even if it looks like it. Just PS. But we need that piece of emotional regulation in order to have a fighting chance on doing this. And so as a part of emotional regulation, we need to check in on these different tanks to see how are we doing. How are we doing with meditation? And for that is a broad category for me. There are breath prayers, there are, again, mindfulness. For this one in particular, I prefer videos that talk to me, that tell me what, like, so if I'm doing a body scan kind of meditation of like, okay, start at your head, work your way down. For me to do that on my own and to stick with it, it's not gonna happen. I will get lost somewhere around the middle and then think like, oh my goodness, I need to make a doctor's appointment about that. And then I'm on the UPMC app and always lost. So I prefer to have it read to me or spoken to me. This is going to sound like a plug, and I promise you it is not. I just want you to know it exists. I have some YouTube videos of like regulation. It's my voice. If there's, obviously my clients in particular appreciate that it's my voice. They're used to my voice. But I have some calming videos on there. I just added a tapping video, which is just like, it's brand new. I put out a video maybe once every year. So like when I say this isn't advertising like my YouTube channel, like I promise. I just try to make resources for my clients available. But Sacred Ground Counseling is my practice. And you can find your way to some of those videos. The only reason I really put those out there is because sometimes you start a meditation video, and because I have so many thoughts, I worry that I'm going to relax and then they're going to say something weird. And so I promise you nothing weird is going to happen to you if you have that concern. I think. Exercise and movement. I hate the word exercise. It brings up all kinds of things. I did tell the joke in the first session, so I guess I'll say it here too. I'm allergic to exercise. I am. No, seriously, I am. That I get really flushed in my face and get sweaty and just really hot. That's not for me. I will do movement. I like movement. I just need to get some movement. I hate the word exercise. If you don't get the joke, I'm not actually allergic. A balance of nutrition, sleep, those physical things that really do impact us. Sleep doesn't always feel like it's in our control because it's not. At least in my opinion, you can make the recipe for sleep and make a recipe for brownies and out comes a squirrel. Sleep is hard. I know that deeply, truly, and personally. But that's one of the areas that I really do know that if I am on little sleep, my emotional regulation is really low, and I am taking in extra stimulus. Because that jittery feeling with sleep, being sleep deprived, and so it's on the list. You know it's on the list. You go to the doctor and you're like, well, how do you sleep? And you're like, oh, next question. It's such a hard thing. The last one I did put on is medication. I am not a pill pusher, but I am also not adverse to medication. There are medications that both, and I'm going to use the acronym just because that's the category medically speaking. There are ADHD medications as well as anxiety medications that what they do essentially is turn down the volume. So that unfiltered brain, it turns down the volume for some of the things that you're taking in. And so it works for some people, doesn't work for other people. Side effects aren't there. It's not a simple recommendation. It's not even really a recommendation. It's just part of my toolkit, to be quite honest. It's part of lots of people's toolkits. As Pastor Rick was saying downstairs, it's just part of what we can pay attention to. And for some people, it can be the godsend. Myself in there as well. So, acceptance, emotional regulation, instigating or inducing dopamine. lots of words, I know, on the screen. I don't like lots of words on the screen. But it is on your paper too. So pinch is just trying to help us remember, because remembering is hard. But these are the things that if you have a task to do, you need to try to like incorporate in. So trying to incorporate passion or trying to incorporate some play can be helpful. I'm going to give some examples here. I know for sure, like novelty for me, that if I can take all my belongings and go to a new coffee shop, like adding that novelty will help me focus for a little bit. If I could get like a really cool pen, a new water bottle, that will help me get back to the gym. Like it's you know, it's funny, but it's also reality, right? Like it really, like if I get myself something that gets a little bit of interest and a little bit of newness, novelty, I can get myself to do something for a time until it wears off, and then maybe I go to nothing. But that's just how my brain works. And I try to follow some of my passion stuff when it comes to like continuing education. I try to like find things that I find to be interesting instead of forcing myself to learn something I don't, because that would be really unkind to do to my brain. Hurry and urgency, I wish this wasn't a thing, but it really, really is. I don't remember if I made a joke here a couple times, maybe at the beginning I did once. Most of this presentation was put together last night. Because, and again, I've known about the topic since I think December. I think it was the conversation. But truly, like I can't get my brain to be creative and like come up with different aspects of it if there's no urgency. I just can't access it. I just can't. And so like procrastination isn't necessarily, what I always say is I never learned my lesson, because I've always done this, like all through school, and then I'm still going to do it. So like I never learned my lesson. I never learned that my lesson that you're supposed to do it ahead of time. Apparently I don't need to. Some people do. Some people do, like that they need that span of time. They need to. Would it be a completely different presentation if I've been working on it for 3 months? Probably. Would it be more informed, or maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to say anything that's lacking. I think it's amazing. Wouldn't be any better. I'm certain that it could, obviously. But my brain just needs that, and it's effective. I get it done. And it's just, if I can incorporate, and I knew that even this week, I was supposed to get everything in on Monday so that they could print out my things, and I literally bought a printer this week, so I didn't have to do that. I needed a printer, to be clear, I needed a printer, but I did do that this week, bought a new inkjet printer, so I can print out my own things, last night. I love to laugh about it. It's part of my acceptance. And then accommodation. So similar to the pinch stuff. The pinch stuff is more like practical things you can do. Accommodation is like a heart issue, where I want to allow for taking breaks. That's just who I am. I'm the kind of person that needs to get up, stand up, walk outside, take a drink of water. That's the kind of person I am. If I keep trying to barrel in and push myself, I will literally just stare at the cursor and nothing will happen. I need to get up and change my environment. Can be lots of noise sometimes. We have some amazing technology as far as that's concerned these days. Let other people know that this is how you're wired in your acceptance process. Like this is how I work. You might not understand because you work differently, but this is how I work. And obviously find what works for you. So that has us landing on our brain. And hopefully I don't hear crickets because that'll make my anxiety go up, so we'll shoot you into responding. What clicked for you, or what is clicking for you, as far as either on this is how my brain thrives, like this is a superpower I didn't really even consider was part of this package, or this is my struggle and this is what helped me, or this is my struggle and I'm drowning. what has come up for you?
I will share.
Yeah, thank you, Linda.
I have been one step ahead of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Stacy and I are friends on Facebook. I have always thought there was only one right way to do things, and I could not find that right way to do things that everybody else knew how to do it. There is one right, and I shared this in my last session. There's one right way to clean your house. You start in a corner, you work your way around, you stop over there, you start there tomorrow. And that is not me. I am very scattered. I am retired. I retired in July. My goal was to purge and clean my house. And it took me months to get started. But once I got started, because I learned to work the way my brain works, I have gotten so much done. And bins, I will disagree with you on bins. I am big on bins. I have bins in my refrigerator. I have one for apples, one for oranges, one for the bagged veggies like salads and spinach, and one for carrots and, so when I want to make a salad, I pull out a bin.
Yeah, I love that works.
Yeah, it works for me. I was sending my poor daughter-in-law, I love her dearly, I was sending her daily pictures of my accomplishments.
Yeah, love it.
Because I need affirmation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's like part of that cooperation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I have gotten more done and this is only like maybe 2 months that I've been like this, but it finally hit me. I cannot make my brain, I'm 70 years old, I'm not going to make my brain act any differently than it already is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought it all these things. I had, my ex-sister-in-laws and my mother-in-law were like, the ideal, they couldn't make June Cleaver look like a slob. I mean, they are just amazing.
Yeah.
I thought I had to be like that, because their house just showed
Beautiful.
The results. I am not like that. I am very much like, she's the daughter I never had. She is more like me than my daughter is. But I mean, so I'm getting a lot out of this, but I'm also like a step ahead. So like, this is just confirmation that I am where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, that's great.
And an encouragement to anybody who else that thinks, oh man, I'm never going to get there. You can get there.
Yeah, love it, Linda. Thank you. Anything else with your random thoughts? Yeah.
I'll share. So I'm a linear brain.
Okay, excellent.
I work in the medical field.
Yeah, so glad for you.
But my significant other is not the linear brain and does not do tasks and is a mess. And so this is a lot of good information for acceptance, because what matters to me, I don't understand why it doesn't matter to him.
Yeah, I mean, it can be, obviously I'm a couples therapist, and so I sit with people that do think differently than me, and I'm empathizing and I'm trying to understand, and so I completely get it, that how frustrating that would be. It looks like laziness. Why can't you just do what I do? Right? It looks like laziness. It really does. It looks like inept, and it can't. And it can be laziness. Like it can't.
I know it's not, but
it can be. No, even for myself. I'll speak for myself. Like it can be, but I need to find that pocket of okay, I'm accepting for who I am. Now find what works, because this is due tomorrow. Get it done. This is due tomorrow. I need to find what works for me. And so somebody else in the first one had a kiddo that was non-linear. They themselves were linear. And I was saying, like, it can't be an excuse. Like, we can't just say, this is how I'm made. Everybody else around me needs to deal with, hot mess Stacy. Thankfully, I'm paired to somebody who is also not very filtered, and so this doesn't really come up a whole lot in our house. It's also a problem, as I noted, because nobody's doing it. And we need a parent or something, I'm not sure. Somebody in the first one that says that she, bless her heart, she owns an organizational business, and so she gave me her card. She should probably just have handed them out, because it might be a few of us. No, that would make me anxious to keep it up. I couldn't keep it up. But yeah, it's we want to be able to offer grace and also challenge. We want to offer some accommodations, some things that we can kind of incorporate. But there are some things, we're grown-ups, need to get it done. Taxes are due. Gotta get it done. You need to start gathering things now.
Sometimes it's the 16th or 17th that goes to.
I know, sometimes. Sometimes it's a little space. Sometimes. And now with electronic filing, it's, but there are no postmarks this year. It's not automatic postmarks. We need to make sure that we're actually taking it to the post office and get them to do the thing. Because, yeah, they're not promising super random.
But it's good to know.
Yeah, it is. I got lots of good information in here. I have dinosaur facts and what do you want to try? Excellent. Anybody else before I wrap this up?
I have
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah.
So this is very validating for me. Like, I relate to like the work brain and home brain, making a plan and sticking with it, the habit stacking, and it's so short-lived. Like I started a devotional, it's only 40 days. I'll do it every night before bed. I got to day 3, I think it's going to be 6. So like that quickly, like my structure tends to fall apart, and it's frustrating because you feel like a failure, or like, why can't I meditate? Why is my brain, So it was very, very validating that it's okay to have an unfiltered brain. That's how God made you.
Yeah.
But then, so yes, there are responsibilities we have in life and things we have to do. How do you navigate that when you always feel like you fail when you set up, what you want to do?
Yeah. I mean, this really, truly is what the benefit of acceptance is. Because again, it's not saying I'm not going to work on things, but if it's acceptance, then it's not failure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, my brain put down that ball. It wasn't interesting to me again. Begin again. Because if you don't have the shame, if you don't have the failure feeling that to be successful means that you are on day 7 of your devotional because it is day 7 of the month or whatever, like if that's not your depiction of success, then you have a wide open, I just want to read God's word today. And guess what? You did it today. Did you do it yesterday? No. You did it today? That's great. Will you do it tomorrow? I don't know yet. If you can hold it loosely, that and just begin again over and over again. 17,000 times that, I missed yesterday, but it's, I go on a tangent about the Bible app and the streaks. I hate the streaks in the Bible app. Is the worst because it goes back to 0 if you miss a day and makes you feel like I just failed. Wait, I hate that so much. I have an email ready to go.
But you can reset the date on each of the devotionals.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
But you still haven't accomplished it. I hate that. I hate it. I hate it so much because it causes this feeling, this feeling of failure. When the point, I think, is to read God's word, not to get streaks. I think. And so if that's the goal, is to read God's word, you missed it. You're on the wrong day. But you read it today.
So reframe it.
Yeah, reframing it. Yeah, that acceptance reframes it. To say that this isn't a failure because my goal here wasn't to get a gold star for reading the entire Bible this year within 365 days. That wasn't my goal. Nowhere is that recommended in Scripture that we do. My goal is to meditate on His Word as much as I can. Goal met. That's wonderful. Or what's our other option? Shame, and now I'm not opening the book because when I open the book, I feel bad that I'm behind, or I don't open the app because I know that it's going to say 0. Okay, so now you're not reading God's Word. Was that helpful? Right? Because we're feeling shame. If we can let that go and say, well, today's a new day, His mercies are brand new today, let's pick it up again. Haven't been to the gym in a year. One of these days. I still pay for it.
Purposeful foreplay.
Love it.
Like I'd rather go play kickball with a bunch of kids than get on the treadmill.
Yeah, I don't mind moving on an elliptical as long as it doesn't work exercise.
I have another question.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry. So often, like with some of our children, therapists have insisted on using a reward system, like a sticker chart, and then you have to get to get the reward. 1,
I can't keep up.
Mama, where's Mama's reward sticker?
Right, yeah. But it sounds like, according to Hinge, if you need the dopamine, you almost need a pre-reward to motivate or help the brain lock into the task. How's that function from a counselor or therapist standpoint? I don't ever hear that pre-reward is okay,
Right.
because then they didn't earn it and it's manipulative and blah, 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 blah.
So I hate rewards.
But I really
with
love
kids.
this.
Yeah.
It kind of flipped my thinking. I again felt like a failure all these years because I couldn't do a sticker chart or, you know.
I get it. No, it always cracks me up of like, I'm supposed to emotionally regulate my children when I'm struggling with my emotional regulation, or I need to try to get my kids to be able to do these tasks, which are very important, like brushing their teeth, getting their shoes on, like owning their own chores, all those things that are so helpful. How do I get them to do it? And the best thought is, again, the linear thinkers have come up with a chart that it's such a beautiful idea, right? Like you just put all the tasks on there and every day you get a sticker. But yeah, the mama who's non-linear has to be the one to do it. Sometimes, though, you can engage your kiddo in making the chart, and that is that dopamine. It's exciting. We're using new markers, it's a new thing. It might work for a week or two, great. Did it work forever? No, nothing ever works forever. But it's okay. It worked for 2 weeks. My son has physical therapy goals, and we sat down and we did do the chart, and that got both of us because we had different colors, and so that got both of our dopamine is to make a new chart, buy new stickers, super fun. And then we did it all this last week. That's great. Are we going to do it this week? I don't know. We'll see. And then we have to find something new. To kind of, so that worked. I think this thought that because it didn't change completely the behavior, that it wasn't the right tool, but it did for a while. It did. Yeah. And so it was helpful for a little while until it wasn't anymore. And now we have to try something new. Okay, so maybe we do the exercise outside, and that will help us. Or maybe we do the exercise even because it's insanely cold. Maybe we do it upstairs or downstairs, or we change up the exercises, or try to find that novelty. To me, novelty is like one of the bigger ones. What can we do to make it new? Sometimes some people are wired with competition, and so sometimes that helps. I'm not. I will lose. That's fine with me. I am not motivated by competition whatsoever, but I am motivated by cooperation. So like body doubling, like having somebody do a task while I'm doing a task, I can get a task done. There's even like websites that you can like have people like do pairing work with you of like they start a task and you start a task, and they like check in, not in a shady way, but in like just, are you still there? Are you still kind of doing it? And that does something inside of your brain to be able to continue to do the task. So sometimes we can like include that with some of the kid motivation stuff. Of I'll do it with you. Let's do this together. Or have multiple kids do it together, or create competition. But it's just it's exhausting. Again, like the acceptance of this, it really includes the emotional exhausting, like to find something new for your brain to do.
I really love this, like the
just do it.
Set up the system and it works forever.
It just works.
Yeah, right now, why don't even get to the bathroom because the service is organized.
Right.
It's like, shoot.
Yes. A
lot of us are not linear. And then kind of coinciding with like the reward system, managing the education system, but our American education system, the way it's set up, does not cater to the like non-linear or unfiltered thinker. And in order to get accommodations, you need a diagnosis too. Do you have any input into just that whole realm?
Yeah. So my kiddo, my 8-year-old boy, much like his mother, we have a lot of similarities and a lot of differences, but I have learned every school district is going to be different. Mechanicsburg in particular is really good with this. They do have a lot of novelty in their built into their plan. They recognize that kids can't sit in a typical chair for 7 hours a day. They have alternative seating, they have alternative desks. They change up, it's part of their policy to like change up the classroom on a regular basis, which is not just good for kids, it's good for teachers too. You know, still incorporating outside play and movement, the transitions from subject to subject. I do think that they're getting better at this, just in general, but Mechanicsburg in particular. And so we do have an IEP for my son. He does have a diagnosis because it was necessary. See previous rant, but because it's necessary. Yeah, I mean it's
type 504 is an IEP.
Right.
Kind of
I'm not
what an interior.
Yeah. It's a challenge when it's outside of your hands. But then you find your own stuff, like you need a new folder. Our day was trapper keepers with stickers on them. A different color for every subject. Just trying to find the way that you can influence on the outside. But, there are surveys on your desk for my little spiel. Please fill those out. And we will collect those. Thank you so much for engaging.